He said, I am the Lord thy God, Yahawah power, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the land of Egypt. Slavery, captivity, oppression, out of the house of bondage. So the meaning, the definition of the word Egypt just means the house of bondage. So here in Jeremiah, hundreds of years after Egypt, again, we're facing the same thing. The same thing. Again, we're heading toward where? Slavery, captivity. It's not literally talking about just going to Egypt. No. We're going again to slavery. Right? How many slavery have we been through? So many. At least 6 to 7 or 8. And we continue to go into captivity. Willingly right now, we apply for a visa and we go more. Okay, some to wake up, some for the damnation. You see, my captivity was to wake up. I was going to school to become engineer. I studied civil engineer. I'm a civil engineering student, 4 years. Here in Babylon the Great. I already got some years from back home. But the Most High woke me up, man. And listen, the Most High smiled me. Because I was almost signed up into the war. The secret society. I almost joined war. Freemason. Freemasonry. I almost joined it. Because I was being offered at a university. I been offered that. You want to be this, blah, blah. I was offered to join Freemasonry. 3 times. Both university I was offered. And I got to back up. I'm like, woo. And then the Most High woke me up. You see what I'm saying? That's the thing. But in my mind, my wicked mind, my vain mind, I was going to school to become engineer. That was my thought, my wicked thought. That's what I was thinking. The Most High said, you ain't going to go down that way. You see, that's where the scripture says, man going is of the Lord, man. You see, what is the man that he should direct his own path? I can't do that. Only the Most High. So that's like the reality, right? You say, Jeremiah 2:18, right? You say, oh, let me highlight this thing quick. You say, and now what hast thou to do in the way of the house of bondage? Why are you going to slavery? Judah, why are you going to slavery? Ephraim, why are you going to slavery again? Why? Right? To drink the water of Sihor, the lie, the philosophy. Or what hast thou to do in the way of Assyria? To drink the waters of the river. Assyria, you see that? Why? Because northern kingdom was taken to Assyria. By who? Salmanassar. Salmanassar, king of Assyria. You see? Why are we always going into captivity? And what are we drinking today? We're drinking the water of Sihor. The so-called blacks, Latino, and Native Indian. We're drinking the waters of Sihor and the waters of the river of Assyria. Okay? Why? Because we believe in the philosophy, the weakness. You got to wash your hand, sanitize your hand. We all equal. We all make equal. All you got to accept Jesus and you'll be saved. Nobody, not so. You see? So we always go into captivity. Let's jump verses 19. He said, thine own weakness shall correct thee. You see? Our own weakness. Right? It's like some brother want to go get weak. He go buy the weed. Then he get pulled over by the police. He got thrown in the jail. And when he go to the jail, he got beat over there to death. And then guess what? The next thing he noticed, the Most High bring him across a brother, a Hebrew Israeli brother, or somebody talk to him about the Hebrew, and he wake up. You see? That's why he say, thine own weakness shall correct thee. You see? What is correcting us? Our own weakness. You eat pork, then you get high blood pressure disease, you get diabetes, you get, high pressure whatsoever, you name it, right? You want to sin against the Most High. The Most High said, the same weakness that you do, I'm going to use that to correct you. You wanna worship Esau? The Most High said, I'm going to use the same Esau to destroy you, to put you to death. You see that? That's the same thing. He said, thy own weakness shall correct thee, and thy backsliding shall reprove thee. And our backsliding, that's what he's reproving us right now. You see, shall reprove thee. You see, know therefore and see that it is an evil thing and bitter that thou hast forsaken the Lord thy God. You see that? There we go. You see, We forsook the Most High Yahweh, and that my fear is not indeed, said the Lord of hosts Yahweh. You see that? We don't have the fear of the Most High within us. You see what I'm saying? Shalom, shalom. Shalom, shalom, Makoti, shalom, shalom. All praises to the Most High Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rakakadash. You see that? He say, and that my fear is not indeed, said the Lord Yahweh of hosts. That's why we don't have the fear of the Most High. We don't fear the Most High, the living God power. We don't fear the Most High. Right? All we do is evil all day long. Right? Right? That's the point. Right? Shalom, shalom, shalom. Right? So that's why we got to lament and let our people know. Let's go back to the book of Lamentations chapter 5. It said, our neck are under persecution. We labor and have no rest. We have given the hand to the Egyptian, so slavery, captivity to the Egyptian, okay, and to the Assyrian to be satisfied with bread. We always wait for the heathen. We wait for Esau. We wait for France. We wait for Germany. We wait for the social service. We wait for the stimulus check to eat. Right? Those are the things we wait for on a daily basis. Right? Let's continue. Verses 7. It says, our fathers have sinned and are not, and we have borne the iniquity. You see that? We continue to do the same weakness. We eat pork, shrimp, crabs, lobster, rabbit, all this garbage. The Moses say, don't touch it. Depart ye, depart. He said, touch not the unclean thing. And people say, no, man, they love it. They say, we want to eat pork. We want to eat, man, we love our pepperoni. That's the music they be playing to our ear all day long. Though we talk to brother and sister, they don't want to repent. They just want to do their own will. That's the slogan of Satan. Do thy will. That's Satan. It's not like that, man. The Most High never said we should do whatsoever we want. We got to do what the Most High say, right? So let's go right here in the book of Ezekiel chapter 18, because we're going to prove it. It said, our father have sinned and are not, and we have borne the iniquity. No, we borne the iniquity, right? And we continue the same weakness, right? Let's continue right here. Ezekiel. Let's go to Ezekiel chapter 18, right? Let's go to Ezekiel 18. Let's read right here. This is the book of Ezekiel chapter 18, and we read verses 2. This is the book of Ezekiel chapter 18 and verses 2. He said, 1 minute ye that ye use this prophet concerning the land of Israel, saying, the father have eaten sour grape. So the Moses said, what do you mean that you're talking about the father have eaten sour grape and the children teeth are set on edge? Right? Why? Because our father, they did not teach us righteousness. So since they were doing evil, what did they teach us? They taught us evil. You see what I'm saying? How did I become Christian? Because my father, he was Christian. You see? That's what the Most High is saying. But our people were complaining. Oh, okay. How come it's our father who sinned? And the Most High is punishing us. We didn't sin. No, that's a lie. You sinned too. What were you taught? You were taught lie. So it's because your father sinned. So you, in your mind, our mind, we think, oh, Yahweh, please only punish our father. But don't punish that because, no, listen, yeah, you're going to get punished too. We are going to get punished. Not only our fathers. Right? So we were taught the same weakness. Right? He said, and the children's teeth are set on edge. He said, as I live, said the Lord Yahweh, ye should not have occasion anymore to use this proverb in Israel. The Moses said, because you complaining, you saying that it's only your father who sinned, that you didn't sin. That's what we say. Our people, we try and say that. Oh, no, he's my father. How can my father sin? And God is judging me. God is punishing me for that. No, man. The Moses said, we won't have the opportunity to say that again. Why? The Moses want to set the boundary right now. Let's read it. He said, as I live, said the Lord Yahweh, ye should not have occasion anymore to use this proverb in Israel. Behold, all souls are mine. All the souls belong to the Most High. Right? As the soul of the Father, so also the soul of the Son is mine. The soul that sinneth, it shall die. That's it. So you got to stop saying, oh, he's my father. Oh, my mother did this. I didn't do this. Why do I need to pay for that? Listen, you're going to pay. The Most High say, anyone who sin, you're going to pay. Not only the father, not only our mother. Because a lot of people get caught up into that. They want to try and say, oh, but why did God try and punish? He's our father, he's the one didn't teach it. No, listen. You are without excuses. Okay? Point blank period. There's no excusing. All you do or you don't do. The Most High say, let me read it again. He say, the soul that sinneth, it shall die. But if a man be just, and do that which is lawful and right. What is lawful? The word of the Most High. Thou shalt not lie, thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not hate thy brother in thy heart. So when you see your brother in the midst of sin, you rebuke them, you correct them, right? Let's continue. This is the book of Lamentations, chapter 5 and verses 8. It's a servant have rule over us. You see, servant. Why? Why is servant ruling over us? Because we sin against the Most High, right? That's why, the prophet said, we have seen, Isaiah and Jeremiah, what did they say? They say, one of the other way, he said, we have seen what? The servant upon horses. Right? Who's ruling over us? Over the so-called blacks, Latino, and Native. The servant, the slave, they're ruling over us. He says, servant have rule over us. There is none that does deliver us out of their hand. So how come the so-called Chinese, the so-called Arab, or the Ishmaelite, the Moabite, the Palestinian, right? The Ethiopian, right? The Egyptian, right? The Libyan, how come all these nations, how come they don't come and deliver us from the hand of our enemy? When Esau is oppressing us, how come the Chinese, right? The Arabs, the Japanese, how come they don't come and fight? How come they don't go get up a weapon and start fighting against the so-called white people? How come they don't do that? You see, that's what the Moses is asking us. He said, and there is none that does deliver us out of their hand. Ain't nobody deliver us from the oppression we're going through from the hand of Esau, Edom. Ain't nobody. Who is fighting? Who is standing for the so-called blacks, Latino? What nation you show me? Is it China? Is it Russia? Is it Iran? Is it Egypt? Are they defending the so-called blacks? They see on the news a black so-called black guy or brother's daughter or sister being put to death in America. They see that. Or somebody being deported from France, from Germany, things like that. They're sitting like, what do they do about it? Do they go and have a council and say, listen, man, this thing you're doing, we're asking you to stop it. How come they don't put sanction? How come country like China, right? China, Egypt, Ethiopia, how come they don't put sanction on the USA, France for oppressing black people, for oppressing the so-called Latino and Native? How come? But when Esau or the so-called white people, when they see something happening in the other country, what do? They put sanction. What did they do in the right like that? They're literally standing for those people over there. Like right now, the USA is putting sanction on who? On Myanmar. Myanmar, that's a country in Asia, right? Right between Bangladesh, how do you call that country? Between Bangladesh, I can't recall the name. So, however, when you go on the map, there's a country called Myanmar. That country was being ruled by a woman. So the country is still under the British domination, the British Empire. It's still under Esau. Esau is still ruling. So the British still have hand over there with the American. So what is happening right now, the military, they have made a coup d'etat. What we call coup d'etat is like, so they overthrown the government and they took the lady that was the prime minister or whatsoever she was ruling, that was the leader. They took her captive. They took her and the military took over the country. Guess what? Who put their mouth first in that issue is Babylon the Great, is the United States of America. Now they're saying they're putting sanction on the country, on the military. How can you put sanction on the military? Meanwhile, the people are living in there. Who's going to suffer? If you put sanction, that's how they operate. That's what we're going to understand. They will never defend us. These people, they are not for our turn. They are not for our turn. Esau, Edom, and the other nation, they do not care about whatsoever happened to us. Because guess what? I'm going to ask you a question. So can a so-called Negro or a so-called African American, let's suppose you got money, can you go to China and buy a land and build your own house and live over there with your family? Hey, listen, be honest. Can you do that? You can't do that. But guess what? They can come to America and buy land and build whatsoever they want to build. And this is the land of your forefather. The so-called Negro, the so-called Latino or Native, they were already here before the Chinese, before the Arabs, all these things. All these people that came, they were before. You see, that's what we got to understand and lament. This is not the time to rejoice. We should be mourning, right? We should be of sad countenance. Why? Because we sin against the Most High. And the Most High, He see for us as the way you see we come. He scattered us. And we become what? The diaspora. Scattered, living among the nation, among the heathen. Right? It's a servant have rule over us. There is none that does deliver us out of their hand. Nobody is delivering. Who is fighting for us? Who is fighting for our land? Who is telling the other nation, they got to get out from our land and that leave the so-called blacks, Latino, and Native and go back to the land. Who? How many? Show me. Is it Esau teaching that? Is in the Christian church? Are the Arab teaching that when they go to the mosque, telling the whole world, everybody, are they coming on the TV, telling the whole world, listen, man, this is the time that we stand for listen, for the territory of Israel, the so-called African American, the so-called blacks, the so-called Nigerian, the Ghanaian, listen, this is the time that we stand for them. Listen, we want to tell you all, the synagogue of Satan, get out of that land for you. Get out before the Messiah bring judgment upon you. And let the so-called blacks, Latino, let them go back to the land. Are they doing that? No. So why we still in the darkness? Why can't we? Where are our leaders? Where are our so-called Christian leaders? Where are they? Those claim to be our leader. What is the wicked Oprah Winfrey? Right? Wicked Steve Harvey. Wicked of our people. LeBron James. Where are all these wicked of our people? Where are they? Those that claim to be leading us. Where are they? Are they void of wisdom? Can they teach us? They're supposed to be teaching us. Right? We're the young one. They're supposed to be teaching us the law of the righteous and the law of command. Where are they? Where are they? Ain't nobody care about us. We got to care for our own self as a nation. The so-called blacks, Latino, and Native. We got to unite and come together as a nation. We shouldn't be hating each other, tearing each other down, shooting each other, killing each other. Why are we doing that, man? Gather together, O nation not desire. Gather together before the decree bring forth, before the day that shall come as a day of fire. I'm just quoting, bear with me, right? He said, verses 9, we got our bread with the peril of our lives. You see, because of the sword of the wilderness, right? He said, our skin was black like an oven. And this is a fact that the people of the Bible, the real Jew, the Latino and the Native, the dark-skinned people, today we don't come in a different shade of brown because we mingle with the people. We mix, we marry with them and all this type of thing. But look what he said. Originally, our people, they were all dark-skinned. Like the black native, like they say, the black Indian, things, they were all dark-skinned. He said, our skin was black like an oven. So, can is somebody who is called a so-called or white person, can his skin or her skin turn black? It's impossible. Their skin turn red or more red or pinkish, right? Why? Because they don't have melanin. The only race of people that skin can turn blacker or more darker, right, are the so-called blacks or the so-called Negro and Latino. Why? Because the more you work under the sun, I've known this for sure, right? Go to country like Senegal, go to country like Ghana, right? In those areas, the sun lasts longer, right? The sun lasts longer. For example, country like Benin and Togo, the sun goes to sleep very fast, right? So what is happening when you go to country like Senegal and Ghana, you see brother, you see Israelite, they look super dark, not black like my beard or my hair, but they look super, super dark and shiny. Why? Because they've been more exposed to the sun. It's the same thing. When you go take a look at our forefathers that were working in the cotton field, sugarcane field, right, corn field, bean field, you name it, etc. during the slavery time, you're always going to notice they're more darker than the ones that are now being exposed to the sun. So the more you're being exposed to the sun, the more darker you'll be. And the only race or the only people that can happen to are those that got melanin, those that got so-called black skin. They got dark skin, different shade of brown. So Esau cannot be black. So this cannot be Edomite right here. It can be Esau. It cannot be the so-called white people. No. This literally the so-called Negro, Native Indian, Latino, etc. Okay? Some of our people, they don't look like me today. They look like Esau. Why? Because the mother is Esau, the father is light-skinned Judah, or the father is Northern Kingdom. Right? So when they give birth, the baby look light-skinned. Then if that baby be a boy, you go marry another Edomite, the baby will look just like Esau. Right? That's why we got to be careful. Right? When we see somebody, we got to ask them who is their father. Okay? We can't just take a look and say, oh, yeah, this is no. Well, we don't understand when we see Esau, sometimes we can tell this is Esau, right? But often, he's the Most High. He's the Most High who can help us understand through the Spirit, the Holy Spirit. Often, all the time, always, right? Let's continue. It says, verses 10, He said, our skin was black like an oven because of the terrible famine. So, because we got to eat. So, people got to be out there working, right? You see the Mexican, they into construction. Oh, but the brother, you got Peruvian people, they're working outside, cutting grass, doing this, shoveling snow, they all type of thing. So, what happened? You get more darker, more darker. He said, they ravished the woman in Zion. What did they do? They raped the woman. Who did that? The other nation, 70 AD. What happened? During the captivity under Nebuchadnezzar in Babylon, what happened? When Babylon, they took over, they raped our women, our mothers. Okay? That's what they did. Okay? Let's continue. He said, and they ravished the woman. And what? 70 AD. When the Edomite that called themselves Roman, right? Later called themselves Caucasian, and then later they called themselves white people. Okay, what did they do? They raped our woman. They raped our forefather. They raped the native Indian woman. They raped the native Indian woman. What did they do? They raped the native Indian woman. Okay, that's why you see a lot of people. Some look light skin, some look at it. Why? Because of what? What did they do? When you ravish somebody, you rape them. You see, so. Let's keep in mind, man, we gotta fear the Most High. The Most High brought all this evil upon us. Why? Because of disobedience. We won't listen. We won't keep the commandment of the Most High. He said they ravished the woman in Zion. It's happening to this very last day. Right? And the maids in the city of Judah. Okay, those who are already married, they still rape them. They rape them. And the young ones that are not married yet, the maid just means they don't have a husband yet. They're getting ready to be given into marriage, right? Into a dowry. What happened? They still rape them. That's what they did with the native Indian woman here. Okay? He said, let's continue. He said, and the maids in the city of Judah. You see that? Let's go there. Deuteronomy 28:50. Let's go read it. Deuteronomy 28:50. This is the book of Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verses 50. Let's read it. Right? Let's read it. Deuteronomy 28:50. He said, a nation of fair countenance, which shall not regard the person of the old, nor show favor to the younger. You see that? What did they do? They don't care. They don't show favor. They rape both elder, young, and baby. They don't care. Okay? Just keep in mind. Verses 12, it says, princes are hanged up by the hand. What did they do? When you go back in the history, right, about the slavery, the captivity that our forefather went through, bear with me. I'm going to double check quick on my camera. Bear with me. Okay.